Hello friends, this is Lindsay for So Fontsy. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video where we are using Sublimation to create some fabric gift tags. And we'll be sublimating the gift tag image onto a piece of beautiful silky satin fabric, and then I'll show you how you can turn that into a gift tag with your sewing machine. Now, the gift tag image is part of a whole set that includes cards and tags that you can totally print out with your printer on some cardstock. But if you love sublimation, then this project is a lot of fun. And you can find the design in the Farmhouse Christmas Bundle 2021 edition. So I threw a link in the video description if you want to check that out, because there's a lot of fantastic Farmhouse Christmas designs in that bundle. So go ahead and check that out, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So first off, you'll want to start by printing out your designs with your Sublimation printer. So open up your design software. This is Silhouette Studio, and then open and size the design for your project. Then print it out. I'm using the Sawgrass SG1000 Sublimation printer, which is awesome for this project because I can fit more tags onto it because it can print on 11 by 17 inch paper. And so then I will print through the Sawgrass Print Manager. Now I've already mirrored the design in Silhouette Studio. So in the Print Manager, just make sure that the mirror button isn't checked if you've already mirrored it. But then go ahead and print out that sheet and then do a rough trim around each of the tags. Okay, so here's the fabric. It's this very lightweight, silky satin, 100% polyester. And I have both a white and then a creamy ivory color. So because the fabric is polyester, they're light colors, then this is perfect for sublimation. Now, because it is so lightweight, though, I do highly recommend that you use a fusible stabilizer with it. So trust me, you'll thank me later. It's going to be so much easier to work with. So for the back, I'm using a fusible CRAFTY stabilizer. In the future, though, I do think that I would choose a thinner fusible for the back because for the front, I'm using something called fusible fleece. And this is just a fleece that has a heat activated adhesive on one side of it, and so it just gives the tag like a little bounce and cushion to it, but you could totally stick with regular fusible stabilizer. Then you're going to take everything over to your heat press, and you'll want to heat it up to 385 degrees Fahrenheit. And first, you're going to press the stabilizers onto the fabric. So here, line up the stabilizer. Just make sure that the adhesive side is facing up. Put the fabric on top of that and cover with a piece of parchment. And then I pressed it for about 10 seconds. Then you're going to do the same thing with the fusible fleece. So lay that down with the adhesive side face up and put a piece of the fabric over the top. But then you're going to put that sublimation design on top of that face down and hold it in place with a strip of heat resistant tape. Make sure there aren't any wrinkles in the fabric. But then put a piece of parchment over that and then press it for 60 seconds. Then you can go ahead and remove the sublimation design. Just be careful because it will be hot, but look how cool that is. The sublimation has transferred onto this silky satin fabric, and it just looks super awesome. So next up, we're going to take these tags to our sewing machine to sew the tags together. And to sew the tags together, you're going to use this, printed design as the guide for where to sew around the edge. But you're going to be looking through it from the underside of the fabric, which I found a little bit hard to see once I had it in the bed of my sewing machine. So what I chose to do is stitch from the front side first along the tag, just on the very outside edge of the tag, because then once you flip that over, then I can clearly see that stitching line, and I'm going to do the same thing for all three. And then what I'll do is put the tags together, one front and one back, And you want to make sure that the silky satin sides, the right sides of the fabric, are touching each other. And then put a couple of pins in there to keep it together. And then what you'll do is you'll stitch just inside that edge that you stitched previously, which you can see. And this time you will leave a little bit of an opening though. So make sure not to stitch around the whole thing. So mark the edges with a couple pins so that you leave a gap, because you'll need that opening for the next step where you're going to turn the tags right side out. I'm using the Bernette B77 sewing and quilting machine. If you're interested in checking that out, then I'll link to the sewing machine in the video description. I'm using just a regular 2.5 straight stitch and some white polyester thread. Next, you're going to trim off the excess fabric from around the tag. So leave about 1/4 of an inch to 1/8 of an inch around the stitching line, except where you left that gap. You want to leave a healthy 1/4 inch seam allowance there. And then you're going to turn the tag right side out through that gap that you left open. And if you have a turning tool, this is going to be super easy because it just flips it right side out, and use like the pokey tool to push out the edges and the corners. Because I did use that thicker fusible stabilizer on the backs of these tags, it was a little stiff. So that's why I think next time I would use the thinner fusible. And where you left that gap, you're going to fold in that seam allowance. And then what you'll do is top stitch around the edge. And that is going to close that gap that you left. And it gives the tag a nice finished look. So I like to clip the edges in place before I sew it. If you need to iron the edges to keep them from rolling, then you can do that with a mini iron, like the CRICUT mini press. But I actually found I didn't really need it. The edges seemed to just, stay in place very easily. So you'll head on back to your sewing machine and stitch just along the edge of the front side of the tag. And this is going to, close that gap. For top stitching, I like to increase the stitch length. I think I used a 3.5 for this. And then I chose just to use the same white thread as before. It gives a little bit of contrast, but you could also choose to match the thread color for the top stitching. And then here's your stitched tag. It looks super, super cute. This last thing that we're gonna do is add a hole in the top. So use some pointy scissors to trim out a small hole. In the design, you'll see that it's printed there. So trim out a small hole and insert the front side of a grommet, and then slide the back side of the grommet onto it from the back. And these grommets you can find at the craft store, and they come with a little black stand that you'll place it on, and then this head that you'll place into the grommet and then tap with a hammer, and it closes the grommet, and then you get this beautifully finished tag, which you can fill out with a permanent marker, or of course before you print it you could have filled in the person's name so it's printed right on the tag. So there you have it, my friends, some beautiful sublimated fabric gift tags. I think they turned out like super awesome, and you can make these too. The design comes from the Farmhouse Christmas Bundle 2021 edition at Fontsy. So I threw the link in the video description if you want to check those out, and because you can also print these designs on a piece of cardstock and make some beautiful tags that way as well. So thank you so much for joining me today for today's video. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.